Well, hello everyone, and welcome to SimilarWeb Sales Tales, a brand new series of exclusive interviews where I sit down with sales leaders from a range of different industries and regions to gather insights, stories, and recommendations into what makes a successful commercial operation. I'm delighted today to be joined by Jeremy Costa, VP of Client Growth at Rakuten Advertising. Jeremy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So let's kick things off with you giving us a bit more insight into your role at Rakuten.
Yeah, so VP of Client Growth is my job title, but in reality, I'm VP of Sales. I've got the overall responsibility for all new business revenue generated by the UK sales teams for all marketing channels and for all Rakuten inventory as well. And the UK sales team, we're focused on UK advertisers that are selling in the UK and internationally, and also international brands selling in the UK. So we cover pretty much every market globally.
Perfect. And I'd be really interested to hear of any changes that you've made to the commercial strategy since the COVID-19 crisis. Have you had to pivot in any way at all since the start of the year?
Yeah, I mean, there was a big change. I mean, during the lockdown, the early stages, very quickly, the entire sales funnel was affected. So from leads through to negotiation and contracting, things just fell off a cliff, basically. We tailored our approach at every stage of the funnel. So we were very fortunate in that we were able to incorporate our own global data and analysis. So we could provide regular updates on consumer behavior. So that could help support advertisers in their decision making. We also provided free Rakuten TV vouchers and Uber Eats vouchers and Udemy course credits. So basically, we were saying to prospects, have a movie and a meal and a course on us. And the focus shifted from the usual kind of approach, moving through the funnel, to having just an honest dialogue and just trying to maintain some level of engagement. So marketing intelligence can be shared both ways. And really the goal at that point was just to make sure we remained on the agenda. When the advertiser was then able again to focus on reviewing our services, we were front of mind. We also made our terms much more flexible. So it allowed advertisers to manage their budgets in a more fluid way, which kind of aligned to the unprecedented shifts in their trading patterns. So, in summary, we just wanted to make sure that we were supportive to their needs, that we were a valued partner, and that we tailored some of the approaches that we take to how we work with clients to accommodate their needs.
Fantastic. If you've got any more of those free vouchers, by the way, please feel free to send them my way.
I'll keep you in mind, yeah.
Thank you very much. And generally speaking, kind of irrespective of COVID, what do you tend to find are the biggest challenges or objections when you're selling to new prospects?
It's just the other demands on their time, the status quo. That's the biggest objection. I think that's the biggest barrier we need to overcome. A lot of focus for us on the upper funnel is educating advertisers that there is a better way, that we can help address that, really getting into the detail of what they're doing currently, unpicking potential shortcomings in their approach, and making them understand that we can improve returns by doing things a little bit differently to how they're doing right now. But then we have to work with the advertiser to understand and agree when they've got the time and the bandwidth to actually review their current activity in more detail and explore how we can improve things for them. So that's our biggest barrier. Once we've got an advertiser engaged and properly looking at understanding the detail around how we can improve things, then things can move forward more quickly. But as I say, it's just everyone's busy, right? And there's always the current way of doing things. So that's our biggest challenge to overcome. And sometimes it takes a little while.
Absolutely, and I can definitely relate to that. One of the biggest challenges, obviously, for sales leaders is making sure that their sales teams are consistently creating new pipeline. How do you kind of ensure that your teams are constantly able to create new pipeline while at the same time focusing on closing current opportunities as well?
Yeah, this is a really good question. I think, going back to my days of selling, I used to, and a lot of individual salespeople can experience that kind of yo-yo effect. So they're deep in proposal, negotiation, contracting phase, and that kind of they're in full swing for a few deals at the same time in the upper funnel, and that lead gen, that kind of upper funnel lead gen stuff can drop off because you're in the detail and the meat of the negotiation phase. So, the risk then is that there's when you get round to that quiet period in terms of contracting, contracts being signed, then the focus comes back onto the lead gen to boost the top end of the pipeline. So you have a phase where you're closing loads of deals, then a phase where you're not, then a phase where you are, then a phase when you're not. And I wanted to kind of smooth that curve out. So I addressed that using a combination of technology and people within my team. So using tools like SimilarWeb and SalesLoft, we ensure that every salesperson has a really easy to manage outbound cadence, so they can generate new leads in a way which isn't time consuming, and factor that into their every week activity. We use Salesforce, so I can monitor what they're doing in terms of that activity. And when we see someone's not doing that base level of outbound, we can kind of call it out. But in addition to that, we've got, and this worked really well for us, we've got an in-house lead gen focused expert. They sit within the sales team org, so report into my team, part of my team. But they work really closely with marketing as well. And this ensures that we've got a constant stream of new leads, and they're allocated in turn to the salespeople. So they've always got that stream coming into their pipeline upper funnel, even if they're in a phase where they're very busy contracting or negotiating. In addition to that, we also partner with a third-party account-based marketing or ABM provider. They support us at nurturing enterprise level potential clients. They do that through programmatic activity and social selling. So the combination of these approaches, it just smooths out that yo-yo effects for individuals, and it keeps the upper funnel flowing even when they're in that time consuming kind of closing stage interaction. And it works well. We have a pretty smooth process there. So we've got a pretty constant stream of new leads coming in and deals closing, and that's consistent throughout the team.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And I'd just like to round things off really by getting an idea of what have been the guiding principles that have kind of been at the core of your development as a sales leader. I think any kind of young aspiring salespeople listening to this would be really interested to kind of hear a bit more about the journey you've taken and what have kind of been the core values that have helped you kind of rise up to a sales leader.
Yeah, this is a really nice question when I was thinking about this. So going back to days of selling, but also now, the number one thing for me, I think, is understanding a client's needs, understanding their goals. And when I say understand them, I mean, really taking the time to dig in and ask the right questions and understand it properly. And then make sure that in the solutions that we're putting forward, we're adding the most value to those clients. So really that, I guess, is about maximizing customer satisfaction. And I think if that is the kind of guiding light or North Star, as people call it, then that's a really good one to have. It gives you, credibility, and it means that people will come back and come back to you again as an individual, as well as to the company that you're working for. So I think that maximizing customer satisfaction has got to be number one. The next one for me is about developing the individuals in my team. So I think as a sales leader, one of the things which you're very aware of is the number, right, that you as a team need to hit. Mm-hmm. But within the team, there are individuals, and we work very closely together. I genuinely care about their development. So working on them having development plans, supporting them to make them better, I think is a really important area, and that tends to make for a happier team and happier individuals. So that kind of to and fro, I need you to go and deliver this, but in return, in a year's time, your CV is going to look better and you're going to be better at doing your job. I think that's a really good kind of transaction to have with your team. A third one, which is I think, is really important as a leader at my level, but I think it's also, going through the process of developing within sales, it's a good thing to understand is to work closely with other departments. So whether that be marketing or whether it be client services, to make sure that what what you're doing with marketing's collateral, or what you're asking marketing to provide to you, is really well joined up. And the deals that you're closing, the communication with client services who have to ultimately deliver on them is really clear and accurate. So working closely with those other department leaders. And I think, really that's about being a team player. At my level, we are as a leadership team sharing those successes. So, we have to be in sales part of that team, not the kind of solo sales, commission hungry mindset, but mindful of that wider team perspective. And then, another principle, which I think is for so many things in life is really important, is always be looking to improve. So test, learn, optimize. If you have a hypothesis for something that you want to try and execute, make sure that you've got in place what you need in order to measure its effectiveness. And even if it's going really well, look for ways that you might be able to improve it and make it still better. And if it's not going so well, unpick what are the bits that might not be working so well and try something different to see whether it makes an improvement. Encouraging my team to have that approach and kind of empowering them to think, it's okay to try something and potentially it not work. That's okay, as long as we learn from it and can then optimize and make it better going forward.
Fantastic.
And then the last one, this is something which I guess I recognized in myself probably quite late, probably maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Really, something happened in some coaching that I had, which really changed some of the ways that I work. And it was about trying to find processes which are simple, repeatable, scalable, and successful. And in order to do that, not only looking at what you're doing really well, but looking at, is what you're doing necessary? Can you achieve the same result doing less work? Mm-hmm. And trying to find opportunities to trim out the work often means that time is freed up to then do other things which can turn the dial up on the end result. So I think that's a really good principle to have. It sounds very lazy to say, try and achieve more by doing less work. But when you get your head around it and actually look for those areas where potentially you can trim them out and get the same results, I think is a good use of time.
Perfect. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much for that. I think some really, really interesting insights there, some really good actionable takeaways as well for anyone listening. So thank you very much for joining us for SimilarWeb Sales Tales.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.